of A Renewed Mind. I am so excited to be back. We are in season number 2. This is episode number 1 of our new season, and I have some special guests tonight. Of course, everyone knows our Renewed Mind podcast is really helping individuals to really become that individual that they need to become by renewing their mind. Paul declares in Romans chapter 12, verse 1, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And tonight we have some guests that's going to really help us get on track. We know we've been dealing with this pandemic. It's actually almost a year. In a few weeks, it will be a year that we officially have been part of a pandemic that we had never seen before. And it has really taken a toll on our minds. It's really taken a toll on our life, but we're really starting to see the impact on our mental health. So tonight we have a few guests. One I know very personally, one I'm getting to know. I'm going to introduce the first, Devin Howard, who is one of my employees for Collaborative Healing. He has been working with children specifically on how to help them improve their mental health. And then we have Ms. Portia Rouse, who is a licensed clinical therapist, who's going to talk to us about that one important topic that we really found to be extremely important during this pandemic, and that is self-care. Many of us have been taking care of so many other people. We've been taking care of our jobs. We've been taking care of our families. We've been taking care of co-workers, church members, everyone else but ourselves. And eventually it's going to catch up with us. And we've seen it catch up with many of us. Persons have been, we've seen diagnosis of depression at alarming rates. We've seen diagnosis of anxiety at alarming rates. And so I am here to tell you that we need to do better. And tonight we're going to talk about that thing called self-care. And I have a resident expert who has been charged, I believe, by God to talk to us, talk to the community, talk to persons about self-care. And I want to bring her on and so she can share with us Ms. Portia Rouse. Portia, thank you so much for coming on board, and Devin, you as well. But Portia tonight, she's the star. She's the star of the show tonight. She's the one that's going to get all the attention, Devin, and then we're going to kind of chime in what she's been doing. I know, Devin, you had an opportunity last year to participate in one of the events, and I believe in her event, and I believe you're actually signed up for it this year. But Portia, if you don't mind, introduce yourself to this great audience, this Renewed Mind audience, who is I'm telling you, they're very active. They're going to be they're going to be commenting a lot. So just share with us who you are and what you are bringing to the table with this self-care.
Sure. So I am Portia Rouse. I'm a licensed clinical social worker in the state of Maryland. And hopefully soon I'll be licensed somewhere else as well. I have been a social worker since 2015. And I currently work in an outpatient mental health facility full-time, but I also have a business called Minds Over Matter LLC. So everything I do is from the soul to help you heal yours.
From the soul to help you heal yours. That's just too good, Devin. We're going to be stealing a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to be stealing stuff, man. I'm telling you, this is good stuff. Devin, won't you share with everybody, how you and Portia connected? I think you guys got a really rich history.
So she basically, she started, I seen her first starting with her vision board series.
Okay.
And she used to ask me like, oh, I got tickets. And honestly, I'll be honest, I was skeptical.
Right.
I was just like, it's going to be in front of other people.
Right.
And then she did a self-care Sunday. And I was like, they got a nice little ring to it.
Mm-hmm.
And she did a poll of one free ticket.
Okay.
And I won.
Oh, you won. Okay, good.
So I was like, I have to go. Like, I have to get out my shell to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, I don't know. I'm procrastinate. But we actually went out the day before, and then someone just told me to go the next day. And I was like, I'm gonna go. And the event was life-changing. I learned so much.
Awesome.
The vendors were great. The speakers were great.
Mm-hmm.
Portia was great moderating everything. She even had her mother there. Her mother was wonderful speaking. Even had food, and
You know how we go with the food.
You know how,
You know, yeah, we.
so it was
And,
just
and when
great,
y'all see, and as y'all see this, I'm like the total opposite. So, you know, I'm like, I don't gain any. I've been small like this for my whole life. And Devin, you know, he kind of has his thing going on, but you know, when it comes to food, we don't play. We just don't.
right. And the event was just amazing. It really changed my life, and it really set the foundation of, you know, really thinking of self-care and what to do with self-care. And hers was Self-Care Sunday. And one of the sessions in the Self-Care Sunday was, what are different ways of self-care? Just hearing other people, what helps them really helped me. It's like, wow, I never really thought of that as self-care. So
that's great. Now, Portia, back to you now. Devin shared with us how he kind of, you know, you guys kind of formed this relationship and how he's come to really benefit from your services. What made you come up with this Self-Care Sunday? What pushed you to that?
So I've always posted about self-care. So I've always posted about tips and tricks and things like that with self-care. So I decided last year I would actually focus on self-care events. So allowing other people to step into what that looks like and actually practice it during my events. So it's supposed to be something that's annual, which it is, just a little different, of course, this year. But it just gives the opportunity for people to allow themselves to take care of themselves, because a lot of people, especially in our communities, are used to taking care of everyone else, but we don't know how to take care of ourselves sometimes. And it's always a battle or a struggle to do that, but you can take care of other people and take care of yourself. And
that's true. You said something that was very key. Within our community, because so often we see we've been given responsibilities. Let's take an example. You know, you're the grandmother, or the grandfather, but now you're taking care of your grandchildren. You know, you've been afforded that responsibility, not something that you had planned on, but now you have to. And we have so many of those different types of scenarios in which persons have been forced to take care of persons or individuals that they probably weren't prepared for, and they weren't really taking care of themselves to begin with. Now they have been forced to be able to take care of someone else. And how damaging or how devastating can that be, Portia, when you have that kind of responsibility thrust into you, but you really don't have any kind of self-care regimen to begin with?
I think it can be very damaging. It depends on the person, of course, but I think that you get so overwhelmed with taking care of somebody or being their caregiver that you start to resent them sometimes. So now you can't even continue to form a good relationship with them because you feel like they are just a task versus somebody that you can have a relationship with. And of course, some things are not your pain, but it is your responsibility to take care of yourself. So your healing is your responsibility, even though your pain might not be.
Now break that down a little bit. That's your healing is your responsibility, despite your pain was not. So what you're saying is that the pain that was caused on you, or the pain that was inflicted on you, and I've said this many times, that many persons, and Devin, I'm gonna bring you in on this. Many persons are dealing with some struggles, dealing with anxiety, dealing with depression, not of their own fault. There were certain things that was done to them in their past that they have yet to have not processed properly, and now other people are being affected by it because they didn't properly heal from it. So break that down, Portia, and then Devin, we're going to bring you in. You said the pain, like you just said, the pain is not your responsibility, but your healing is yours.
So a lot of times people, like you said, are dealing with things that they didn't cause, but some people want to sit in that. Some people say, well, this happened to me, so this is the way I am. When you don't have to be that way, you have to take control of what your healing looks like. So you can pray and go to therapy, but you have to do the work in both aspects. You can't ask God for freedom and not walk in that freedom, and still walk in that pain that happened to you. And you can't go to therapy and think that your therapist is going to be your savior. You have to do the work for your healing, so that you can start feeling like a better person. You can start being the better person that you are. And it doesn't negate the fact that somebody else did this to you, because they still have to hold themselves accountable. But you have to decide to move forward, even when it feels like you can't move forward. So it's not to say depression is your fault, but it is to say that the only way you're going to get up out of that is if you decide to walk in the healing versus walking in your trauma. Some people are so attached to their trauma, they don't want to walk in their healing.
Man, Jesus. Here we go, Devin, and we on the couch again. You know, these therapists and these the licensed clinical social workers, same thing. They love to put you on the couch, man, and just start unraveling all these things. And you be just thinking, wow, okay, what haven't I dealt with? What am I still worrying about? What am I still not having processed properly? So you just open up some Devin. I mean, when you hear that, when you hear her share that type of remedy on how to deal with your pain, what does that bring to mind for you, Devin?
For me, it just brings to mind just past situations. I mean, kind of like you were saying, like, you know, you sitting on the couch yourself, it just brings up past situations, and to know, like, you really have to work on it yourself.
Yes.
And the big thing is you can be happy with something. Like, you know, you go through some trauma and you feel like you're happy with your healing, or you feel like, oh, I'm healed, I'm over it, and continue to do stuff that makes you happy. But at the end of the day, it still cannot be best for you. Happiness doesn't always mean it's best for you.
Wow.
So, and that's what I had to learn, because I went through a situation where I felt abandoned by someone close. And afterwards, like it was around 2015, 2016. 2016 was one of my happiest years.
Okay.
And just the whole year, I was just happy. I was doing things I want to do, but I didn't do anything that was best for me.
Wow.
So I didn't do anything to heal myself. I didn't do anything to progress myself to the level where I should be, or even where I wanted to be. I just did what made me happy. And it's nothing wrong with making yourself happy. It's just at that moment, I needed to heal. I didn't take the steps to heal. I just cope with different things that was just going to please me temporarily.
Wow. And you know, a lot of persons are experts at that. They have been experts of being able to mask the pain in such a way that they are able to be seen as being healed. But the moment that trigger happens, or that trigger occurs, they're in that moment where people are receiving or being inflicted by the pain that they have not been able to process. So Portia, in light of that, what Devin talked about, you know, everybody talked about, you know, I want to be happy. I want to be happy. But you can't, there's no way you can be fully happy until you deal with that pain that you refuse to deal with. So what do you say about that? How do you work with that?
I think that just because you ignore it doesn't mean it's not there. So it does manifest in different ways. And it could be one of those things where you're snapping at someone for something that's very small, because it's triggering something else that's within you. So you have to face whatever it is that you are hiding, because it will come up in different ways that you don't even realize. Sometimes you realize it and sometimes you don't, but if you don't face it, it will still be there. And if it's not still there, it'll come up in your children, or it'll come up in your relationships with others, and other people will bring it out of you, and you don't even realize that this is something that you've been trying to hide or not handle for so long. But then it comes up in conversations, or it comes up while you're watching a movie. So you're doing your everyday things, and you realize that these things are triggering you because you refuse to handle them.
I've seen that happen. I've literally seen a person literally, as a movie was going on, you could see the trigger happen. You could see it. And that's because of unprocessed pain that is still lingering. And that is critical. And I'm glad you shared that, because it will come out in many different ways. Our grandparents would say, if it don't come out in the wash, it's going to come out in the rinse. It's going to come out somewhere. Somebody's going to receive it. Somebody's going to hear it. Somebody's going to feel it, because we haven't dealt with it. And that leads us, y'all, and this is for you guys. I mean, that leads us to this pandemic. You know, we all of us know no one has been has not been able to no one has not been able to be affected by this pandemic. Everyone that we know has been affected by this pandemic some way. And many persons, as we know, have been affected by this pandemic mentally. And I can't think of a better way to be able to address it than with your self-care Sunday. So it's a couple of things we want to talk about now as we make the transition. First, we want to kind of deal with how have you seen, Portia? What have you seen in the persons that you're treating, that you're talking with? How has this pandemic affected those individuals?
So I actually picked up a part-time, and I work with solely adults within my part-time. And a lot of people have the same issues. One, they haven't dealt with their traumas, and you have to be home. So now that you're home, you have to deal with the things that you haven't dealt with before. And that's one of the things people are dealing with. Depression has been a huge thing. Anxiety has been a huge thing. And relationship issues has been one of my biggest things with people lately. So it's been a lot of friendship issues, a lot of intimate relationship issues, a lot of marriage issues. Those are mostly the things that have been coming up. But a lot of those things come up because people have been avoiding them. So that friend who likes to go to brunch all the time or does all of these things, they enjoy being out of the home because they don't have to sit with themselves. So the pandemic is truly bothering people because they have to sit with themselves. It's not necessarily that they have to be in the house, but it's really because you have to sit in your thoughts, you have to sit in your behaviors, you have to sit in your relationships with other people. So now that you have to do it, you're not used to doing it. So now you're actually addressing it even though you don't want to address it because it's in your face.
Wow, you said sit. You have to literally sit in your thoughts because it's there. You ain't gonna be able to Netflix it away. You ain't gonna be able to Facebook it away. You ain't gonna be able to. It's there, and you have to deal with it. And you said the persons that you're treating, they're at the point now. I want to say one thing. At least they're coming to you for treatment. You know, because they can. A lot of persons have avoided that. But we've seen in our organization an uptick in persons really wanting to have treatment. Do you think that's a good thing?
Yes, I think that 2020 has showed us that if you don't address it, it will address you. So I think that the uptick is showing that this is something they probably should have done years ago, but they never did. So they said this is something they either they were forced to do it because they themselves, their personalities, their ideas, their thoughts, their behaviors forced them to get help, or that could have been their breaking point, or they realized they needed to be still. We get so busy in other things that we can't address anything about us because we mask other people's lives again. So we are taking our kids to school and taking them to all these things, or we're doing all of these different things by going to work and then coming home and going to sleep. So you're not really dealing with so much. But now that you're doing all of it in one place, you're forced to deal with these things.
Well, I'm going to let you know, and we're not even done yet, but we got a few more minutes. This is not going to be your last time on this podcast. I can tell you that right now. Oh my goodness. You know, you've been saying some things that are really, truly vital and persons really need to hear. You know, you're dealing with things. You're still living your life through your child. You're living your life through these entities, your job, your church, even your church, because you still don't want to deal with some of the things that you have to deal with. And Devin, I know as you're growing single man, got single men problems. You got issues of your own. As you're hearing us being challenged by Portia, and although you've had relationship with her as it relates to her getting you through her self-care Sundays, I mean, what kind of takeaways are you taking from what she's sharing with us on this app on this evening?
I mean, I agree. Like, she's 100% right. I mean, I could just remember when COVID hit. Everybody thought it was like a joke at first, until like you're really sitting there, just so what I'm going to do today, like what. And I just remember myself when COVID first started, just being here, like what I'm going to do, what is I need to get on like a routine, and that's when I remember self-care. I remembered it on a Sunday. Wow. I was like, I'm going to do something for myself. I don't know what it's going to be, and then I was like, I'm just going to take care of myself. And I've been doing the same thing I will take the longest hot shower, do a face mask, like pamper myself. I mean, and for a lot of men, you know, they don't take care like their face or their skin or anything.
Right.
I'm going to do this as myself. Like I want to have good skin, so I'm going to do for myself. I came and I built an office in my house,
Right.
and then I also, you know, looked out and tried to do new things around. I tried to keep myself busy with also like doing things that's going to make me more stuff that I need, more comfortable in things that I need. I mean, I needed to, you know, if we're working from home, I need a home office.
Right.
And I had a whole room that I use as an unofficial closet.
Right. Right. Got you.
So it just gave me time to really do for myself. And then, even then, I even felt like I still have too much time on my hands. What do I need to do to make myself better?
Okay.
And that's when I got into the steps of I need to grow closer with God.
Yes.
And I need to fast. And that's when I did my fast.
Yeah, I remember you sharing that, and that was extremely life-changing for you. But think about it. I'm gonna connect the dots for you. It was Self-Care Sunday that came before the pandemic.
Right.
You know, that literally led you through the pandemic in a very healthy way.
Right.
Whereas many persons in your age group, in your genre, they didn't have that. So the suffering and the mental abuse that they were dealing with, and that they were projecting on the other people, didn't manifested in so many different ways. But because you were able to take advantage of a raffle that you didn't want to participate in, literally helped you live, helping you live a healthier life. I mean, that's just providential. That's just, you know, God literally connected you to an individual and to a program that could get you through a season. Listen to this, that he knew was coming. Come on, y'all, that's good stuff. He knew the season was coming, and he cared that much about you to make sure that you had an opportunity to go through some self-care tips to be able to make sure you're able to manage your life properly through this pandemic. That's big. That's really, really big. And so that takes us to where I know you talked about it in the beginning, but give us a little bit deeper dive, Portia, on how you came up with this self-care and why do you think it, I mean, Devin told me that like soon as you put it up, it was almost sold out. I mean, it's probably sold out now, and you probably only got no room. I'm gonna have to steal a ticket or something. I'm gonna sell a ticket or something because I'm gonna have to get in on this. So how and why and who will benefit? Can you answer all three of those ones?
So it is a virtual event, and this year, well, I always incorporate something with community service. So that's my passion. So outreach is something that I always do. So we'll be doing a bit of outreach. We have a panelist with both men and women, so people can hear different perspectives from both sides. And then we'll be talking about different topics with self-care. So self-care for moms who are probably young or older, self-care for caregivers. We have vendors and things like that. But I came up with the event because I knew that people weren't taking care of themselves. And I think I knew a lot of people who felt guilty for doing that, who felt guilty for saying no, or who also felt like self-care was only a face mask, or things like that. But self-care is well-rounded. You have to be able to take care of all of the parts of you in different ways. So you can do a face mask, but maybe you also need to address your childhood traumas. So maybe you do both, or you can decide you're going to get a pedicure and a manicure, but maybe you also address that you have spending issues because you don't know what a budget looks like. So just addressing the different areas of your life when it comes to self-care. Isolating yourself. Why do you isolate yourself? What are you really doing when you isolate yourself? And I think we've normalized negative behaviors, especially our generation. We've normalized negative behaviors as something that's normal. So because we think it's okay, we continue to do them, and it's not healthy. So everyone says, oh, I disappear for a few days and my friends just know that's okay. It's actually not okay. You're going through things and you need to speak to someone. And it's not just your friend you need to speak to, but somebody who can actually walk you through the steps of doing that.
I am so grateful I am recording this. I cannot tell you how many people if they don't watch it, I'm going to force them to watch it and listen to this, because you're absolutely right. and it is truly critical. And I had the flyer, and it's just, I think I may be able to pull it up once I pull up my email and try to post it. But I am just thrilled at it. Now, before we kind of sign off and we kind of go and let everybody know exactly what when the Self-Care Sunday is, tell us about Mind Over Matter. Tell us about your company that you started, and tell us. We kind of know why, but how did you come up with the business name, and why did you use that name for your business, and how can persons get in contact with you in order for them to take advantage of your business?
So Minds Over Matter was actually founded out of necessity. I was a full-time rehab specialist, but I wanted to do therapy part-time with the same agency. So we were required to start a LLC so we can obviously get paid. So I just made a post one day, and I couldn't think of a name. So I asked people what names, and I posted it in 3 different locations, and one person from each location said Minds Over Matter. Yeah. So it was very interesting that all 3 people didn't know each other, haven't seen my posts on the other places or platforms, and that was the name that came to me. So I said, okay, I'm going to do Minds Over Matter. And then my logo, I actually used to have hair, but I used to have really big hair all of the time. And I felt like there were always people trying to mute Black women. So I decided to do a logo. And initially the nose was smaller, but I have a big nose. So I wanted her nose to be big. I wanted her to be bold like I was. And then sunflowers are always tall. So they stand tall and they stand against anything. So I love sunflowers, and I made the sunflowers also a part of the logo. And then yellow and orange, they stand out. So they stand out and they shine. And sometimes we always just want a bit of sun through the things that we're going through. So Minds Over Matter is understanding that all of the matters in life might be hard, but if your mind is okay, then you'll be able to get through them.
So how can someone get in touch with you, or how can, do you still have openings for Self-Care Sunday? Share with us.
So I am opening up some more slots for you all because I only have 1 left, but I will be opening, yes, more slots, and there were only 25. But people were just ate it up this time as well. So that was great for sure. So I will be opening up some more slots, and I can be found on Instagram, Minds Over Matter LLC. My work number is 443-687-9943. And then my email address is mindsovermatterllc@gmail.com.
You may have to think about doing it more than once a year. So I'm just letting you know that right now. you might get yourself started. I'm just saying, God positions persons for seasons, and while the iron is hot, you got to strike that anvil, and you're the perfect person, specifically the age group you guys are. We need highly intelligent, very emotionally competent people who got emotional capacity to be able to handle a lot of things that you guys are dealing with. You got all the social media platforms that most persons in your age group are constantly on, which, that's just a topic all by itself that just constantly fuels emotional imbalance. It just fuels it, literally. But for you and Devin alike, Devin has been working in this mental health field for a few years now, and he sees how important it is to not only through self-care, but to also help mentor other young men in their mental health. So you guys can see how beneficial this type of team will be, and these type of resources are for our community, especially the generation to come and the generation that you're with. Because really, honestly, and I've shared this with a number of persons and persons in my audience, we're going to depend on you guys, because you're going to have to help support us when I'm not going to be the age I am right now for the rest of my life. Right. We're going to need some highly intelligent, competent persons to be able to keep this thing moving forward. And I think more than ever, we're going to need people to train persons on how to do this. So hence, while you're in this field, you're helping persons being able to navigate their life. But I think these type of self-care Sundays, where persons really get an opportunity to get tips on how to take care of themselves, like you said, not just going out and spending, because really you think you're taking care of yourself spending. It's just really you got a compulsive habit that you need to get in check because you don't want to deal with certain issues in your life. But those things they need to hear, and sometimes coming from a pastor, it's just me telling you what to do. Coming from a peer, that's just telling what you need to get yourself in order, and that's for them to take a hard look at it. So again,
I think it's a bit of both, though. I think that we need to hear it from you. We need to hear that this is from you, and then from us, we need to hear how to apply it realistically. I think that we hear what you're saying and we value what you're saying, but sometimes we don't get the application portion from what seems like that other people our age can also do. So we definitely value what you're saying, and we need that as well, because we don't know all the answers, and we need to have a balance of both. We need to know that we can come to you so we can get that guidance, because you need that wisdom and that counsel. You can't do life alone for sure. And also have that accountability on both aspects.
Yeah, that's a great way to close this. You're absolutely right. I preached on yesterday a consistent faith, and I shared with them about my last point was wisdom will put you in a position to win, operating with wisdom. And that is critical. That I believe many persons in the church, in the church community, we want to get so spiritually minded that we don't operate with wisdom. And Devin can attest to the fact that I have no problem with challenging persons to apply as much wisdom as possible. I am that teacher that will not only give you the tools, but I'm going to show you how to use the tools and for you to win. And one of the key areas that I've shared with persons so often is that most persons know how to start everything, but they don't know how to finish anything. We have a lot of starters, but few finishers. And that's one of the areas that I've been challenging persons in my church, persons that are employed by me, is to consistently finish. One of the greatest weapons you can have against the enemy, against the kingdom of darkness, is to be consistent in everything that God is calling you to do. You can't start and stop. That's why the enemy is not afraid of us, is because we don't know how to remain consistent. We know how to start, but we don't know how to finish. And I believe with your Self-Care Sunday, you're showing persons how, giving them a tool on how to finish. Because what typically happens is they know how to start, but when things get heavy, when things get rough, when they don't feel like people are affirming them, or they don't feel like people care about them, or they don't feel like that they're being appreciated, they stop. They stop. They just, regress and don't finish. Self-Care Sunday, those self-care tips is going to help you deal with those feelings, deal with that anxiety, deal with that depression when you don't feel like persons are really beside you or behind you. No, you just may interpreted the text wrong. You may have interpreted the email wrong. You may have interpreted it one way, but they meant it another way. And that's because of the issue of you not taking care of yourself mentally. All of these things attribute, I believe, to persons finishing what they start. So again, Portia and Devin, I'm grateful that you guys decided to come on this evening. I can't wait for my ticket for Self-Care Sunday, 2:00 p.m. Oh, we didn't even give them the date. Oh my goodness. What's the date for Self-Care Sunday?
February 28th. So the last Sunday of the month.
Last Sunday of the month, February the 28th. I believe it starts at 2 p.m. It's 2 to 4. And it is a totally virtual event. She's going to put out a few more tickets, and my name is on one of them. So it's only going to be a few more left after that. I will definitely be participating. Again, Portia, thank you. Thank God for you allowing God to use you, for you not saying no, and for you just opening yourself up to be used. I can just share with you, I know you're a member of a great church. I'm just here to share with you that God has a great door opening, a door of opportunity that's going to open for you in order for you to really take care, or for you to really be a vessel for him to help use the people that he's put in place to expand the kingdom. They need good mental health experts to help do that. That's why Paul declared, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. There's no way we can get through this season of our lives without having good mental health. I want to give each one of you at least 15 to 20 seconds to share with us any closing statements. And specifically, Devin, if you don't mind talking about mental health, how important it is for mental health, and then Portia, just do a nice little plug for your Self-Care Sunday. Devin?
Yes, mental health is very important, especially within the African American community and also in the Baltimore and greater Baltimore area. I think it's needed, and we should all look into it, no matter if we know if we have a diagnosis, or even if you don't feel like you have any mental health issues, still look into it, because you could be helping someone else. You don't know what situation or what you've been through in your past that, you're able to help yourself or help another person. So definitely look into it. Portia's event is great for it. And it's just a great event just to learn more about yourself and more about other entities of self-care.
Amen. That's good. Portia, you want to close this out?
Sure. Well, first, I want to thank you both for inviting me and having me. And I want to remind people that it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to sit in that. So it's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to sit in that. So to take some steps moving forward, I am having the Self-Care Sunday event on February 28th from 2 to 4. Tickets are absolutely free. You just have to register. We have amazing speakers and panelists for you all, and we are open to questions and feedback as well. So hopefully I see you all there.
All right, great. Listen, everyone, I'm so excited to be back. Most of y'all probably didn't know, but I was on a mission trip to Tanzania, Africa. It was one of the most exciting trips I've ever taken in my life. I have so many stories that I'll be sharing via my transformational teachings on Sunday, my Bible studies, or even on this podcast. It was a great opportunity. I got some great mental health opportunities to help grow mentally and help even within my own self-care that I had been overlooking so often because of so much work that I've been doing during this pandemic. Many pastors have been working extremely hard during this pandemic, and I know I was one of them, and I really needed that opportunity to really kind of unwind and get refilled. So that's where I've been. But we're here in our new season number 2. This is our first episode. Again, I want to thank Positive Power for actually distributing our podcast. If you haven't, go to pray.com. That's pray.com. Subscribe to our podcast, A Renewed Mind. I'm on Spotify. I'm on Apple Podcasts. All the podcast platforms, you can find my podcast, A Renewed Mind. Type in Dr. Dante Duckett, Dante spelled D-U-A-N-T-E, and Duckett, D-U-C-K-E-T-T. Again, thank everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you, Portia. Thank you, Devin, for being our special guest tonight. And I'll see everyone next week, same place, same time, here on Renewed Mind, where Paul declares, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. God bless you.